Morning all. This is weird when it turns around.
And you
There
can,
you go. Oh look, who's behind me? Look, he's just appeared from nowhere. It's Mark from Camilla and I.
Hi guys.
I've just sort of randomly met him on purpose.
Yeah. 2 hour drive. Morning.
Yeah, 2 hour drive. We are in Romsey, which is it's Hampshire, isn't it? Romsey.
Yep.
Yeah, I should know because I've got family only over there.
Fish Lake Meadows.
Meadows, and you'd only come here yesterday briefly, didn't you? Was it the first time you came?
First time.
But it looks a fantastic place. All these bits of old tree and stuff. Well, I suppose they're still growing. I don't know. Some of them maybe. And nesting. Something's nesting up there. Loads of stuff. Lakes over the other side. We already had a couple of geese and ducks and stuff fly over us, and a few other bits. Apparently, what was it? The osprey. There's possibly an osprey around somewhere, but we don't know where.
Last week,
but he may have moved on somewhere. But anyway, we're going to wander along, see what we can capture.
Yeah.
There guys, we are at the first hide. The other one is just over there. There's people in it, so we thought we'd come here and be chatty. But we're talking gear this morning. Just obviously, as you do, if you've got another camera and another photographer, you're going to talk about stuff, you know.
Yeah.
It's either that or you know, our lovely party dresses that we wore last night on Saturday. But you know, wildlife for me is something I love doing because you can just walk out and about and you can be anywhere. You know, you could be down the seafront, you could be here, woodlands, other marshlands, or I don't know, mountains, you know, that sort of stuff. And England, I mean, it's massively diverse of anything. We've got so many different types of animals here. Obviously, some have been killed and were wiped out by other wildlife, and like the grey squirrel got rid of pretty much all of the red squirrel.
Sorry, we've got some swifts in.
Yeah,
Just a little bit of action.
they're fast, aren't they?
Swifts and house martins.
Yeah. You know, so everything from which I've been, if you've watched some of my videos recently, you've got the swallows at my house. We've got, I think, 4 pairs nesting in various stables and the carport and a few other places. But they are so quick, and it's a good learning experience. And I think with the cameras today, they're so good. Doesn't matter if you're using A6700, the A1, Nikon, Canon, Fuji, whatever you're going to do, you're still going to be able to capture an amazing shot. Some cameras are going to do it slightly better than others in reality, but a lot of the time it's staying with the bloody animal. You know, the camera's doing most of the work, and with the A1 for example, or the RX10 Mark IV for example, it's on focus, it's got the shot, and it's happened so quickly I've not even realised until I look back and go, shit, I got it.
Yep. Yeah, I shot 1,200 shots the other day, and all of them were in focus.
Remember I said 100%.
I mean, it was like with the new firmware update on the Sony A1.
Yeah, I've not missed a thing.
Absolutely.
And it was bloody good before.
I mean, it was perfect light. This was, you know, a particularly good day.
Yeah.
So you can, you really, with some situations, you don't know the shot. But obviously,
I don't want it too easy either. I
No.
don't want it easy. I don't want it to be. I want to get the shots obviously, but I want to work for them because that gives you some kind of satisfaction. You know, I drive a manual sports car as such because I don't want an automatic gear change. Obviously, some people do, but I like the fact that I'm actually doing something I'm driving. It's a bit like this camera. I shoot 99% of the time in manual. Occasionally, I might stick it into auto. You know, for a couple of, you know, auto ISO if anything, nothing else generally. But you know, most of the time, I want to get the shot that I want to see. You know, and it's a bit like anything. You know, I'm not necessarily wildlife. It could be, I don't know, portraiture, it could be astro stuff, you know, whatever. I'm going to be shooting for a reason. And because I do a lot of different things, for me, the A1's always been now the choice because it does so well at pretty much everything. It's not perfect, like nothing's perfect, you know. And we've got the new Canon R1 that's in now development apparently.
Exactly,
you know, but,
will it, you know, that obviously
it'll be nuts.
That will be as good as the A1, I think, by the looks of the specs I've seen online through
it's as good as the A1. It might even have a couple of, a bit like the Z8 and Z9, they've got a couple of things that this hasn't. But does it make me want to go to Nikon? No. Not at all. One, you'd have to sell everything and lose a lot of money, and two, because the camera does something else that your one doesn't, does it bother you that much? Not really.
As long as your camera gets in quickly, autofocuses on the subject, and really performs well.
Yeah, generally.
Generally, it doesn't matter what system you use.
And I look back now, and I started in film when I was like 12. That's when I say I was 12. That's when I sold my first photo. and now I'm 46, so quite a long while ago. And I progressed through film cameras as you do. You know, but you started. The kit wasn't as crazy then, but it started to get there. And I think in 2002 or 3, maybe 2002, I bought the Sony f828. Remember?
No, that was one of the first digital.
It was one of the first. No, but it was like the RX10, but it had a rotating body. So instead of having a rotating screen, the body rotated, so you could actually look down on it. And it had like a 28 to 200, I think. It was pretty good. And you look back now, and the pictures are pretty awful. I mean, the quality's okay, but the skies weren't very realistic. The colours weren't brilliant. But it was a great camera. And then I moved 2006. I think I went proper digital, and it was Konica Minolta. And I was umming and ahhing about Nikon, because I was a Nikon film user at the same time. And went into my local camera shop at the time, which was Bexhill. A guy called Chris there, who was the owner, and knew him. My dad knew his dad, and I think my dad knew his dad, something like that anyway. And I said, Chris, what do you recommend? And he went, Konica Minolta. They're pretty much giving away the kit at the moment because Sony had bought them out, so they were just giving away stuff. So I came home with 1,200 quid's worth of camera, plus 2 lenses, extra batteries, a grip, everything for free. Where the Nikon, which was the same sensor, I think D200, was the same price as what I paid for, but I got loads of kit. It was a bit clunky, the Konica Minolta, as was the Sony A900 when I moved into the full frame Sony, and but things move on, and this is where we are.
My biggest regret, and like you, I was always well into photography. When I was 18, I sort of had my own dark room. Turned the bathroom into a chemical nightmare.
Yeah.
And the usual displays there.
Morning.
Which, and then obviously I had the film cameras.
Yeah.
Nikon in those days. Nikon FE, EM.
Try to work out what my first proper SLR was I've still got it, a Pentax ME Super. It's broken, but I bought that second hand. And that was with when I sold my first photo to a postcard company. That paid for a camera.
Yeah, no, I mean, I was into landscapes, obviously, as usual, deep landscapes, usual place most people start. And then the biggest regret in photography was not getting into digital straight away. When they were producing a camera with 1 megapixel and 2 megapixels, I mean, the results really were pretty ordinary. And film, of course, just blew it out of the water still.
By far.
But of course, no one could predict, well, I couldn't predict the absolute amazing developments in camera technology. And obviously I started with Panasonic, the micro 4/3 sensor, GH3, GH4.
Okay. The autofocus wasn't brilliant, was it?
No. And
good on video.
Yeah, and then I moved over to Nikon, and I had the Nikon D500 and the Nikon D850, and that's when I discovered, out and about with somebody, Steve Hogan. I was out with him, and he had his A9, just the original A9.
First A9, yeah.
And to
be
honest,
2015, I think.
And even
or
then,
16? No, 2017. It came out roughly when the RX10 Mark IV came out, I think, something like that, because the RX10 has got some of the bits in it. Yeah.
And even then, the A9 blew the D850 out of the water.
Oh, well, miles. Yeah.
Because the D850 only had 10 frames per second.
Probably 8, I think.
8. Yeah, it was terrible.
Yeah.
And straight away, you're getting at least double the shots.
Yeah. That's the thing people don't realise. Yes, the Sony can do this. The A1 can do up to 30. Obviously, A9 III can do 120 short bursts, and some of the Nikons and Canons out there will be catching up or whatever. And it's not a case of do you need it. Sometimes it's just a case of actually getting that shot where there's a slight change, or amount of time. I don't know about you. Amount of times I've got shots of birds with their eyes shut.
Oh yeah.
And you just want that next moment of.
It's that wing beat.
Yeah, wing beat, and and other things, or the actual, if it's a peregrine falcon or something hitting
Yeah.
hitting something, or or the swallows, or swifts or whatever.
Whether I need 120
I
frames
don't.
per second.
30, I've never missed it.
I don't. 30. I personally, I think I'd go for a sweet spot now. If I was developing the R1, I'd try and go for 45, something like that.
I think they've realised now,
45,
though.
60.
Yeah, I think they've realised now that 50 megapixels or less, 40 to 50 is a really good sweet spot. Because I noticed with the A7R4, 61 obviously, the images coming out of it in studio were mega. And you're bordering, it's not medium format, but you were bordering the detail of Hasselblad, 100 megapixels, you're pushing that way, and it really was noticeable. But once I got the A1, the difference between the 61 and the 50 is not a lot. But also, it's just something, the A1 is just better in 99% of all other situations. And in reality...
Yeah, well, I mean, we had a classic on the way down here. I mean, I'm just walking around at the moment with the A6700, and I put on the 2x converter with the 70 to 200 f2.8, and it's a great combination, and for static subjects, no problem at all. But just as we were walking down here, we had the cuckoo in the distance. Nice little bit of video of that, but then it flew off, and of course the darn cuckoo flew directly towards us over the path. I mean, you couldn't believe it. You needed somebody there to witness it with you. Otherwise, it would be one of those fishy tails, wouldn't it? This, that, and the other. Anyway, of course, I swung this gear into action, and of course, I was set on about 1,000th of a second. No time to react to the controls on this, because the controls are a little bit more fiddly on the A6700.
That's the thing, isn't it? Yeah, sometimes unless you're set up for something,
unless you expect it, you anticipate it. Anyway, we were talking, so we were caught out all together. And anyway, the upshot is, didn't get the shot with this combination, but I could almost guarantee I would have got the shot.
Well, I did. I got one.
And you got one.
Yeah.
So show that one.
Yeah.
Just to prove the episode.
Yeah.
But now that opportunity of having a cuckoo.
I don't know. Actually, I got it static, but I missed it because like same thing. My shutter speeds were low because I was shooting him in the tree.
And
and the light today is crap.
Yeah. I mean, it would. The A1 would have got the shot. I think personally now.
Easily would have. Yeah. I mean, I focused on it, but the shutter speed was too slow, so you just got emotion.
Now you see, that might be our only ever opportunity to get a cuckoo.
I've never seen one. I've heard them. Never seen one before in my life.
And to get one come towards you at that angle, coming towards you, often take the cuckoo going away from you. No problem at all, because you'd like chasing it.
Shit.
We could easily have taken his tail, no problem at all, but no points for the tail.
No.
So classic.
Typical.
Gear matters, and that's why next week, unfortunately, I am taking the plunge and getting the 300mm.
I look forward to seeing that and have maybe a little play at some point.
Yeah.
That'd be,
well, I'll give you a play with the 600.
That'd be. I've never held. That's a lie. If you skip right through back to 2017-ish, my friend Gab's got the. Or did have, I don't know if he's still got it, the 600 f4 Canon. And it was quite funny. This is what pushed him to buying an RX10 as well, just for a walk-around camera. And Gab was very kind enough that we put the RX10 Mark IV and his Canon 1DX Mark II with the 600 f4 Mark II lens side by side, and we did some. Basically, we used a drone to fly towards the cameras, and we were trying to see what the difference was. And I'll put a link if I can find the video. It's deep down somewhere. But it's quite interesting to see that the RX10 was actually as quick, if not quicker, than the 1DX Mark II. Doing more frames per second, autofocus working very well, but obviously the only difference you could really see in good light was the depth difference. So 1-inch sensor versus full frame, much shallower depth of field with a full frame, but other than that, sharp as, and focusing, and obviously more shots. So your gear you're using at the time, but the only thing I always say as well, which you'll probably agree, is if I was here on my own, I had the A6700, the RX10 Mark IV, or the A1, a Nikon, a Canon, a Fuji, even a Hasselblad with whatever lenses they do, and I got a wildlife shot of something here, that something happened, and there was no one else here, it has no relative effect on what camera I was using. One, if I got the shot, and two, you're not here to take it. So unless you've got something to compare it with side by side, no one would know.
No.
You can even do it with a mobile phone. You're going to notice that. But in reality, is people slag off other people's cameras and things like that. Obviously I love the Sony stuff, but I'm not a gearhead where I'm like, oh, you use a Nikon. I mean, we might joke, but at the same time, I've used Nikons in the past, owned them, but it's a case of get that shot. It doesn't matter what you're using, as long as you're happy with the results. And two, obviously the better gear you've got, the easier it is.
That's it. I mean, that's essentially the problem, and that's why I missed the shot with £4,000 of equipment. Now, if I was more au fait with the A6700 and I really knew how to use it, I probably
would have got it. You could have got it, but we were both walking, weren't really ready for it.
I had the camera pointing at it, but I just couldn't focus in on it.
No.
But
in all respects, you've got a cuckoo sitting up a tree, which was facing left,
and then flew.
And with any time I'm thinking it's going to go left if it even moved.
Yeah.
And it just comes straight at us, and I wasn't ready for it. I wasn't paying attention. I was like, "Oh shit, there it is!" And shutter speed, I think, was at 800 of a second, which was rubbish.
But to me, see, £4,000 worth of equipment didn't do it.
No.
If I'd had the 300, which I'm getting next week on, with the 1.4 or the 2x converter, it would have got the shot.
Yeah.
Without a doubt, it would have locked on. And I'm just now regretting, that Castle Cameras failed to supply it last week, because I would have been walking around with that combination.
That would have been a better video as well.
And not this.
Yeah, but never mind.
But don't worry.
Yeah.
But we are getting it soon, because unfortunately gear does matter, and obviously
it does. It absolutely does.
If you've got the money, like lucky old Camilla and I,
it's a long-term investment as well. It's something, if you buy right. I mean, we've obviously I can guarantee you, every single photographer watching today has wasted money on something they thought they wanted.
Yeah.
That 500mm
Sigma.
That went back, didn't it?
Yeah.
I've spent thousands over the years and wasted thousands of
Likewise.
Now I've actually calmed down. Where I'd given up my job and everything like that. Obviously, money wasn't coming in as much, and it made me think about what I really wanted, and what I smell like a dead fish right there.
Not me.
No. So I've now got what I'm pretty happy with. It's taken me a long time to get there, and about £100,000.
Probably likewise.
Yeah.
It's a difficult call. I mean, say if you sort of know what we know now, there are combinations that you'd go for. I mean, for example, that Sigma 500 is an extremely good lens. It's very good. It's very sharp. It's very quick focusing. It's superb.
But it is governed by Sony's.
Limitation on the frame rate. But you still get 10 frames with something like the Sony 4.
Yeah.
Which is brilliant.
Yeah.
And so for a cheaper combination, I'd go for that lens and a full frame body of some cheaper full frame body for about £4,000 or £5,000, if that's all you could afford.
Yeah.
But even that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
But realistically, if you're looking to actually nail that shot, I needed the Sony A1 and probably a 300 f2.8 wide open or something, or in this light.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine if hadn't put a converter on. I would have had a converter on because it's supposed to be sunny today. But it's put like, and it's at the end of the day, it's what you've got on.
Yeah.
And it's what the hours that you put in the field. You can get some great shots. You don't have to have cuckoos flying towards you necessarily.
I'd say I've never seen a cuckoo, so for me to even get the one I'm sitting in a tree, friends of mine, other photographers, they've got some fantastic shots, and I was like, I've never seen one before.
Where you don't need to rapidly autofocus in on something.
No.
If you're into static birds, I mean, there are so many cheaper options you can go for.
Of course, yeah.
And of course, the action sometimes happens between individual birds in the same zone.
Yeah.
So you don't need the autofocus. You don't need the capability.
No.
So you
Plus, if you're already on it, it's generally going to stay with it a bit easier than if you're trying to lock onto it and it's flying past.
So you can get absolutely winning shots.
Also, like me, the reason I missed it, one thing was what was that little bird in that was a sedge or something?
Yeah,
sedge in the bushes there. I'd actually gone to a small spot.
Yeah.
I was like, shit, I was already in a small spot.
And you need zone.
Yeah, and I need a zone.
And even though you know your camera inside out,
you can't. It was 5 seconds and it's gone. So that's what happens.
We're talking half a second reaction time.
Yeah.
and I'm afraid I'm getting older.
That's the thing.
Reactions aren't getting any quicker.
That's the thing with like the swallows and the swifts. They're so quick, and what they do is, and I've been learning at home because I'm lucky they're out in the garden, so that, and they don't care about me at all. They just. But problem is with the swifts and things, they're trying to catch bugs in the air, and they're amazing to watch. And they'll be flying along, and you'll be like, yeah, and you just lock onto him like that, and then it just goes gone, and you're like, what the. Where'd they go? And he's 100 metres over there with it before you even realise, and then you've missed a shot, and that's the learning curve. Oh, swan's taking off and landed. So yeah, there's lots to learn. It doesn't matter how old you are, how long you've been doing it, you can learn something new every day.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, the tracking is mega on this thing. The way it just follows you. I've done it in the dark and it's just still following. I can't even see myself, let alone the thing. Look at the size of this thing. It's bigger than me. Well, not quite, but you know.
Yeah.
So you've got the Sony 600 f4.
Yep.
On.
Which I'd still recommend the 600 f4.
A lot of money there.
A lot of money for wildlife photography.
600 f4 compared to the 200 or 600.
About 3 kilos. And that's about 2.2, I think.
Nice reflections. Got some swans here which are looking pretty cool. The cygnets and everything are over that way. Is that they are, baby swans, cygnet? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got something right with the birds. You'll be so proud. Half the time, the people who follow me on YouTube, they quite often correct my bad sayings with the birds' names and things like that because I'm completely crap. Obviously, I know what a buzzard is and a kestrel and things like that. Luckily, they've got nice pictures up here. Oh look, because it'd be really nice. I mean, if we saw the osprey, I'd be well happy. Because I've never seen one before.
Yeah.
You know, so it was all the lesson spotted runner there. This person, he's got this beautiful wildlife and scenery here, and then you just see this day glow, bright yellow person jogging past. More of the old gooses.
Noisy, aren't they?
Yeah, noisy buggers.
Grey legs. Slightly different colour to the camera, but yeah.
Goose.
No, you don't. Anyway, we'll shoot first, ask questions later, because we had the hobbies fly over, didn't we?
Yeah, that's something I didn't know what hobby was.
I missed them all. I think you managed to
I
get.
got a couple, but not very good. The problem is you're shooting into the sky, which is miserable looking, which doesn't help.
And I was not using the A1 with the 600mm.
No.
I think we might have one approaching.
Don't know. I was tempted to jump in front of it.
The cormorant.
Oh, they're common, yeah.
Coming in.
They're like common as muck, aren't they?
Well, that's it. It was a large bird in the distance.
The thing is, cormorants are funny because they obviously seabird, but they nest inland. And there's a few places I go to, and one place called Ashburnham Place, which is probably 20 minutes or so from mine. It's a beautiful little private estate, and they've got big lakes and things like that, and there are different wildlife, and there's always a couple of cormorants that nest there, but they're like 9 miles inland from the sea. But obviously they like what they found, so plus the herons and things like that there, and buzzards and kite, things like that. So
yeah, well, if you want to go with the big one here, I'll swap over.
Yeah.
Stick this on here.
I've never used a 600 f4. I'll stick it on my camera here.
Well,
I have it actually. A lens.
so I'll nick the 200, 600. If that's all right.
Oh, do you want to use it?
Well, just
Swap over.
Swap over.
Yeah, okay.
Shows bodies.
A little bit lighter.
Yeah.
Just as much on I feel very privileged to use this because I know the sheer cost of them, and it's mad. How much does one of these cost retail?
12,000 at the moment.
12,000.
It's actually come down.
I was going to say
because it was 13. I think I paid 12.5 through Castle Cameras, Salisbury. But
A little bit of mention there.
yeah,
I like quite. Next time I come down, maybe to go there and have a look around. Quite like a. Camera shops are funny. They're very rare nowadays because obviously online sales and things like that. But near me, when I say near me, it's still an hour drive. You've got Burgess Hill, you've got Park Cameras, and they've got a really nice built store. And it's quite nice just to wander around. Actually, they let you obviously play with the gear and have a look at it. And I've spent many pounds with them over the years, so it's a bit like you with them, isn't it? You know.
Oh yeah.
But it is quite nice. Sometimes I know you buy things online because one, it's just so much cheaper and easier. You ain't got to go anywhere, and it just comes in the post or courier. So that's one thing. But it's good to support your local shops, you know, when you can. Obviously, sometimes they can't even compete with the pricing, but with things like this, you know, the A1 and all the lenses and stuff, they're generally set by Sony. So, you know, there isn't really much leeway anyway. They can't really even give you much of a discount because they don't really have the bargaining power in there. So, you know, most prices are pretty much the same, unless you're buying used. And then, you know, do they sell used stuff? I'm guessing they do.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So they got used stuff, which is great. You know, used gear is brilliant, especially if it's been well looked after.
Yeah.
Does this just move around? Sorry, hang on.
Just popping the straps on. I won't put them on the body.
Okay.
You always put them on the lens.
Yeah.
But I don't like to use the lens. I know Jonathan I was with the other week. He was using all his camera equipment without straps or any support at all. And it's all very well. I mean, it's still £1,600 this lens.
Yeah. You don't drop it.
Body. It's more damage to the body I worry about because it's the A1.
Yeah.
But yes, yeah, turn over. But you're straight in. With this copy, you've now got a good copy of the 200 to 600. You were saying earlier you didn't have a.
Oh yeah. So we didn't know. Well, I don't think the lens was bad. I think it was actually.
Really?
Can I hand hold this?
Oh yeah.
Is that alright?
Yeah, no,
Probably
just,
wise to put that one in.
that one on. And let's release that. Rolls back. Just undo that. And roll it now. Roll it back. There you go.
Okay, much lighter than I expected. So that's lighter than that. It feels. This is well balanced. I know.
It's the balance.
Yeah,
but
but
this is still
this is
2 kilos.
surprisingly light.
But surprisingly considering.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got.
And actually, really lovely.
Most of the if you take just for example wise, now all of a sudden.
It's not much different, is it? I know you got a lid on there.
I mean, it is. It's still. I mean, it's a sizable chunk of glass, the 200 600. And there's a lot of, you know, it's that common turn. So you've got that common turn on the raft.
Is it?
See on the
Oh,
raft?
yeah.
The,
Yes,
but without the lens hood, which, let's face it, we don't need it today, do we?
not really.
Not something at all. But,
I just leave them on just for bashing them.
oh, definitely. And of course, you're straight into the front element then.
Yeah.
So we always have the lens hood on the 600. Oh, I just noticed it's got dusty now.
Oh.
But a little bit of dust doesn't affect a 600 as much as it would a smaller lens.
No.
Although I do keep mine pretty immaculate these days. Okay. But yeah, back to the big boy status. You know, you feel a real wildlife photographer with one of those, don't you, really?
Do you know what? It feels
The lady
really nice in the hand. I mean, like I say, I'm a hand holder.
Yeah.
Don't generally use it, but then if you're out here for hours, you would want it on a tripod.
Yep.
Because you don't really want to be. Just got it.
Yeah, that's sort of big boy's lens, I suppose.
Obviously, it has its use. I mean, to be honest, it is. I can feel it using my left hand as a shoulder at the moment.
Yeah. Whereas this, you could just about walk around all day
Oh,
long.
I do with that quite happily.
Quite happily.
But I'm starting to feel it already. Actually, to be fair, it doesn't feel too bad. But I think if I was more than another 5 minutes,
Hence the
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you wouldn't want to do it too much.
and
It's more the overhang. So the overhang is obviously where it's now leaning on me.
And if I was not doing Camilla and I would not use the video head. I'd use a gimbal.
I was going to say, yeah,
The,
it more naturally swings than they around.
The Suray PH20, PH30 gimbal head, absolutely superb. They really do the biz.
Oh, come on, bloody bush.
Damn wildlife.
Damn wildlife. Let's get back into the zone. I was right,
Yeah.
I just want to get something else in flight and then we'll be good. So my ISO at the moment, I'm at f4 because you can.
Yeah.
132 through a second at ISO 1600 because it's dull as anything out here.
Yeah.
Not very bright at all, even for like an f4 lens.
Yeah. Yes.
You know,
I'm f5.6.
wide open. Yeah, the f200ish, and then 6.3
yeah.
at
6.3.
which, to be fair, the thing is you've got a lot of dynamic range as well, so you don't really have to worry too much, and you're better off underexposing slightly anyway. Generally, I find, especially with whites.
Oh,
so obviously you've got like the swans, you definitely want to underexpose slightly.
Even on a day like today,
Yeah, because you'll soon.
You're still negative.
Yeah.
At least one with a swan.
Yeah.
Yeah, you tend to favour auto ISO this sort of situation.
I've actually locked it because it was pissing me off because it was taking the sky more than the thing because just sometimes the way it is. You know, it doesn't matter what settings you've got. Sometimes just don't work, and it doesn't matter if they're in. You know, if the auto, the end of the computer's trying to help you, but at the same time it can also hinder you. And sometimes you just have to take over and say no. You will not do that.
I find that generally with wildlife there's so many different types of background.
That's the thing as well, isn't it?
I mean, the foreground is dark, and then you go to the midground, which is sort of mid-tones, and then the sky is like blank white at the moment,
Yeah.
or it could be blank blue. Which either way,
They're coming in. Not very well. They're going down. Think about it.
not in that.
Not on that one. They might turn around. I think they're going to.
So the auto ISO is the sort of pro tip generally.
They might bank round and come back in.
95% of the time I'm in auto ISO. If you've got a
Depends what you're doing there, though, doesn't it? Like anything.
If you're in a studio or in a set situation.
Well, how do I autofocus then?
See, they're coming in now.
Yeah.
The red select there.
Oh, behind the bush.
I got them.
I got them before the bush.
With the cuckoo in the background somewhere. Don't think I got the cuckoo in the frame.
I'll tell you what, even that distance, they still pull the background away. Shame about the scaffolding and they're building a house behind it.
Yeah, it's slightly
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, at least I know that lens is sharp on another camera.
Oh yeah, there's nothing wrong with this copy of the 200-600. So
I think with anything though, it doesn't matter what you buy, there is going to be the odd duff one, and it's very, very quick to judge. But everything's mass produced at the end of the day. It doesn't matter. There's thousands of these, or even maybe a million of them around the world. I don't know. You know, like anything, they go wrong.
yeah, when you're looking at a 600,
they're
obviously they do check it out a little bit better.
Yeah.
And
But you're paying the premium for it. It's like
you're obviously paying the price, and it is the ultimate sharpness. Obviously, any fixed focal length lens is far superior to any zoom.
Yeah.
And that was particularly noticeable with the 500 Sigma, which I would still highly recommend. Turn going around. But you know, you are personally, I would go round with a Sigma 500 rather than the 200-600 because it's a lot lighter.
Yeah.
And you're always going to be using the lens at the long end, so you're always going for 600. Well, you pull it back a little bit when you're using a zoom.
Yeah.
You come off the 600.
I'm back at 200 quite a lot to find my subject.
Find the subject, yeah,
so
then
your
come
techniques are slightly different, aren't they? Depending on what you're doing.
Yeah. But I go round with a mindset of 500mm. If I got a 600mm lens, I go round with a mindset of a 600mm.
Absolutely.
lens.
Yeah.
And it's what you've got on. But wildlife, particularly in this country, particularly small birds, you're always looking. Really, you want a 600,
At least, yeah.
And that's why I'm going now for the 300mm
With the 2 times on.
with the 2 times on it, because that takes me to f5.6, the same as the Sigma.
But
I do get
smaller than that.
Small.
Well, roughly the same size as that, I suppose.
Smaller,
Yeah.
lighter.
Yeah.
It's not smaller. The bulk of it is bulkier, but it's a good 500.
And the optics are going to be obviously beneficial. But how much is it?
Well, that's 5,800
Just for the lens.
just for the lens.
So where the 206 are absolutely. I mean, I couldn't believe it when it first came out. The price of it was like, what?
The 2 times converter is another 499 pounds.
Yeah, I had one, got rid of it in the end.
and the A1 is still the terrible price of £6,500.
Yeah.
Isn't it? So
I was sneaking and did buy it from Panama's and for 4,700.
So it's a hell of a combination to walk
How's he
around with.
hiding behind that small clump of flowers?
Yeah.
There's a swan who's disappeared.
How could a swan?
He went in. Oh, here he is.
How
He
could
went
a
in
swan
and
be
doesn't
so
come out the other
large?
side.
Come out the other side.
Yeah, absolutely.
Viruses, isn't
Come on, stick it back up. I want to see it.
it? Trouble is, you have to drag back the compensation dial for the swan, and then the next thing you know, hobby's in the sky.
Yeah, that's the trouble, isn't
You're
it?
going -1+2 in these conditions. So, yeah, you do have to mess around with compensation dial. But no, I mean that's why you do pay the big bucks and go for these.
Yeah. Like we say, gear matters. If you've
Gear
got the one, if you're lucky enough to have the budget,
budget.
because I mean, what's that? 12?
Oh,
So £20,000 roughly.
yeah,
In reality,
20,000.
by the time you've got cards and other bits and pieces, not far off it.
Lens
19,000.
Yeah,
It's a lot of money to carry around with you.
it's a lot of money.
You know.
And it is insured.
Yeah, well, yeah, insurance is one of the other things.
So you do have to,
Obviously, well worth having. If you're a professional or not, it's
It's a lot of
well
money,
worth
it
having.
is.
You never know, and it's one of those things. Think accidents happen,
and indeed,
scumbags happen.
that's the thing. That's one reason also why I'm going through the 300mm. In fact, I'm sort of
You look
downgrading.
less. You look less.
You look less
You keeping this?
suspicious. Oh yeah, yeah. I won't be fighting that. I mean, that will still. When I know a set situation and a set subject I'm going for, that is the
Yeah.
combination I go for.
Yeah.
But when you're on a walk-around situation in the camper van now, going to a new place, going to a new reserve, I don't really want to leave that
No.
in the van.
No.
So that won't be coming with me. That will be staying because the van's just like a car; it warms up the same.
Yep.
So you're not going to. You don't want to leave camera gear in a vehicle of any sort, even a camper van with a pop top up.
No.
You've got a nice canvas roof that somebody could slash
Absolutely, yeah.
and take the gear. But so partly for security wise, yes, I'll still be walking around with what would be 5,800, 6,500 plus cards plus cover, what were we on,
Yeah.
12, 13,000, something like that.
Yeah.
Still be walking around with that sort of gear, but so much more flexible.
And the crazy thing is,
So much more.
my camera is worth more than the car with no lens.
Well, likewise, my
It's mad, isn't it? You know.
that's the term. It was performing far more yesterday.
This way.
Got me
Come
shot.
this way.
No,
We
I
can't
got
call
me
them.
shots of it.
Yeah.
It's all about the walkie distance. So yeah, although we photographers go on about gear, it is extremely important.
Yeah. And I think as well, as photographers,
What is it about? Swifts.
right down in front of you,
Swifts.
got a whatever they are, coot or
Yeah, wherever the swallows and swifts are, the hobbies probably won't be far behind.
no,
Because
are they about, are
they're in the same insects.
they? Yeah.
Anti-that.
And I think with talking about photography side of things, as if you've seen my Aurora one, the buzz we get, if you've got an interest in something, it doesn't matter if it's photography or motorsport or even cookery, knitting,
Alcohol,
there's
cigarettes, yeah.
many different things that we're all interested in around the world. It doesn't matter who you are, you've always got someone's got an interest in something, and when you get something happen or something you're challenging yourself to do, it's good for you. It's good for your brain. It's good for
And although these systems are mega bucks, I mean you keep
what you pay
watching
for.
and follow the. I mean, if I knew what I know now and I was going to go to the level I'm doing now, all I would have, I suppose, you'd probably leave the 600 off the list now to start with anyway, and I would go for the fixed 300 with the 2 teleconverters as the ultimate sort of portable thing, better than the OM1 systems, because it's still micro four thirds the OM1. I mean, we're talking about a frame system, and let's face it, we're always short in this environment, in wildlife, you're always short of reach. So you're always cropping.
That's why it matters that when you actually get a bee or something in the shot. Here.
Oh yeah, yeah. You actually got a bee.
Bee. I think he was chasing it.
Yeah.
There was a crow that was chasing a bee.
Well, it's even more insane when you've got a swift or a.
Oh yeah, and you're capturing there just about to grab the
fly. I mean,
absolutely, yeah. Yeah.
You're surprised how often you catch it with the beak open with that many number of pixels.
Yeah. Yeah, I think if you get the buzz, of stuff, it's worth spending the money. Or if you're earning money from it. If you're professional and you're making money with your kit, obviously it pays for itself, doesn't it, over time?
The glass before cameras,
yeah.
Although that has changed a little bit.
Well, sensors have not. The thing is, back when film cameras were film cameras,
yeah,
film was film. Film
yeah.
didn't really change unless you use a different ISO film, like
Yeah.
ASA or whatever.
It's the price that's changed.
Yeah.
I mean, the camera now is half the cost of the lens, £6,500.
Yeah.
13,000.
But if you were to stick this lens on the A6700, for example, or a cheaper camera, even the A9, for example.
Oh yeah, I know.
I swear I thought it was going to take up.
25 megapixels. But still.
Yeah, which is plenty in the real world, But I say the sweet spot, I reckon, is what I've noticed, because I had the A7R2 when it first came out, game changer with detail, and then obviously up to 61. 61 is too much for most things, especially moving targets. It's the sweet spot is somewhere between 45 and 50, and I think that's why Nikon were they 45 with the Z8.
Yeah.
And I imagine the new Canon is about that, isn't it?
I think the old one's 30. Isn't it?
No, I think it's more.
More.
I thought it was more. I might be wrong actually. Because I suppose they're trying to compete with like the A93.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway,
I don't know.
anyway, but for detail and croppability, that sort of 40 to 50 megapixels is incredible. Just gives you a bit more usability. Croppability does help for some things, but also it allows you to get more than. Your light's going back to that, isn't it? For years, I've cropped.
Yeah.
I'm used to doing film. Doesn't matter what people think. Cropping's happened for years. Because you just enlarge on the enlarger and literally crop it in. But it's allowed me now to go. You've got multiple shots out of one shot if you want it. Different look to each shot because you can crop in. I can go for a portrait to a landscape or whatever out of one image, or square, or whatever you want. So it does make a huge difference. But also the details there, the quality, is noticeable in certain situations. So yeah, I think I'm going to swap back to the smaller lens because otherwise,
Stick it on
in a second, we'll couple of ducks, just moving targets.
A couple of tufted ducks. Yeah.
Yeah. No, thank you very much.
No, stick it.
Oh yeah. Okay. You deal with that. You got it.
Okay.
No. Yeah. No. Missed. He's gone.
Helps when you're in the right position.
Yeah, what a fantastic morning. I mean, even the weather's, you can't never predict the weather. You can never control the weather, well, unless you're special.
Yeah.
But, it's good to get out. It's good to meet new people. Obviously, we've been watching each other's channels for quite a while now. And obviously do things slightly different, which is always nice as well. And it's just nice to be able to get out and meet. Whoops. Oh, you're still It's never easy when you're not actually holding it properly.
That's all right. Unless you're in the same muscle memory position
that
you do
normally
times, you become paraplegic. Don't you,
absolutely, yeah.
So.
But it's good. One, it's good for your brain and sociability. So getting out, like during lockdown, I was teaching people photography online, but it's great. Thank you very much. It's great to get out and meet people and just, look,
Try swap a system.
Try different people's kit. If you got nice people, like Mark, who's willing to let me use a £12,000 lens,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
he knows I'm not going to run off with it. You know, it's really nice to be able to do that, because in reality is I can't afford to buy one of these, and I probably never would, because I do quite a lot of other types of photography. I just wouldn't get the use out of it, and I
Don't get the
wouldn't need, you know, 200, 600 sits at home most of the time anyway, unless I'm going out for wildlife stuff, or air shows and things like that. So for me, it would be a lot of money to invest in something I would probably use once a month or something like that. So it would be very difficult for me to actually warrant that, spending that much money. Like I say, especially when my car's not even worth that. So it's obviously very, very nice that you can actually get out and use it in the real world, rather than being at a camera shop and just sticking it out the window and maybe looking at a building or something.
Yeah.
It does give you that experience.
You do want to try before you buy something like this.
Absolutely, and it's just.
Which you can rent, you see, but I mean.
I thought about renting one, but they wanted like it's still a few £100.
It's 400 quid.
Yeah, and like I say, nice to do, but the reality is, like we said, if I'm out with this and I take a picture, and Mark's not here and he's not taking the same picture, you'd never really know what lens was used, because if you didn't write the settings, they might have thought, oh, he's just shot. He's shot with. I mean, at the end of the day, if I said I shot that shot of the swan with a 600 f4 and I put the settings were f5.6 or f6.3, they're going to believe you, because at the end of the day, there's nothing to compare it to. So that's why people don't need to worry too much about what you're really using. I know gear does make a difference, but at the same time, it's relative to what you're doing, you know, and you know, snobability comes into a lot of it.
Yeah,
you know, you've got to be very laid back in the way you are.
I mean, I like to think, I must admit, that all the equipment I own, I use. And
you bought it for a purpose. You didn't buy it to show off. That's the difference. Yeah.
It's not bought for.
No. You're not trying to go, hey, look at me. I've got a 600 f4.
Nice, you know.
It's like,
no, it is actually.
I am looking, and that's pretty cool. But
for about a 2-year period, this was on my A1 for about 90% of the time, because of the isolation subject. I mean, I was going over subjects I've been through before, but capturing them in greater detail and greater isolation mostly. The f4, the difference between f4 and f6.3
huge. In reality,
is huge.
Yeah.
Okay, if you can isolate your subject on a nice tuft of grass or something, or in a tree with plenty of distance behind, yes. I mean, obviously, I can tell the difference, but you know, you wouldn't, as a whole, you wouldn't. The
real world is, you know, 95% of our work goes on social media, so it goes on Instagram, Facebook, or YouTube, doesn't it? At the end of the day.
And you know, when you're dealing with that, it's only when you print and you print big, like I do, then you know, every pixel counts. And there's some things I shoot which look perfectly great on screen, but then on the actual photographic paper, problem. Yeah, you know,
you quite get it right, and that's where also if you've got high megapixel cameras, they really can show off a bad technique, or you know, you didn't quite get the settings perfect, and that's why you've got to shoot, and that's why
you don't start. You don't go out and spend £20,000 on this sort of gear.
You know, a lot of people will be, it's
not worth it.
They've got the money, so they buy it. It's the old saying, all the gear, no idea, and it's very true. Obviously, if you've got the time to spend and you want to learn, and you know you're going to get there eventually, and you've got that sort of passion for it, of course, it might be worth you suspending it and getting used to it. But for the average person,
no. I mean, that was a miss. Yeah.
Got it. Didn't happen to be looking through the camera at the time. So,
yeah, it wasn't.
We've got one coming in. He's coming over, or she, or whatever.
Yeah. I do like the spawns with these.
Yeah, with these flowers. I'll show you in a sec, guys. But yeah, just a nice little framing going on. It does. But yeah, you can talk about gear all day long, and you know, obviously, we are both lucky in the situation where we've got high-end cameras, a lot of knowledge over time, even though it might not sound like I have, but for many years, obviously experimenting and things like that, it does make a huge difference to your the way you shoot. And you know, like I said, you've got to learn something new every day.
It's like anything. It's use in the field. You know, you learn.
You've got to get out there. These people who write stuff on Facebook saying, "Oh, what's the best settings for this? What's the best?" It does help you to a degree, but if the lighting's different to what I experience, so if we were out and it's a beautiful sunny day, I could tell you the settings for that, But if we came out today, some people will come out and they're going, oh, I can't get the settings right, because they don't understand the reason why the settings are different from now to yesterday. It's actually starting to get brighter, very slightly.
Good.
Finally.
It'll be time to go in.
Yeah. But you know,
I bet this is video.
you've got just grab it out. Sort of muddy. It's a muddy bottom of that pond. But yeah, you've got to learn. If you don't learn yourself, one, you never remember. It's a bit like doing the settings. You set your camera up. Someone's like, "Oh, what's the best settings for the camera?" Like the menu settings. It's like I could tell you what I use, but and I have done with the RX10 and things like that. I've done menu setups, and I did explain in certain situations why I would use this, that, and the other. But it's all personal.
Yeah, and I think you were saying the other day, I think I caught on one of your videos that basically that you were when you got such an expensive camera, this, that, and the other. It's surprising how few for your particular genre.
Yeah.
What settings you use. Obviously, it's difficult if you're model, studio, flash, this, that, and the other. You use a whole load of settings which I don't even touch on this camera. 90% of the functions on this camera I don't use at all.
No, and it's the thing. The A1 is so.
I keep it so streamlined.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. Yeah. I only have a perch bird setting, and I only have one that I can adjust rapidly for a faster subject, and I literally stick with the two because you haven't got time to start twisting this dial here, this, that, and the other. It's hard enough to change the compensation dial in varying conditions.
Absolutely. It's like I say,
you've got more than enough to do, so you keep it. Although it's probably one of the most complicated cameras on the market, you keep it as simple as possible.
And that's why you've got to use it. So asking people for your settings, as much as it can help you a little bit, until you get out there and really use it.
You've just got to.
You've got to use to remember. You know, it's a bit like if I jumped in your van, camper van, and you jumped in my car, you'd be like, oh shit, how do you even start the thing? You know, so it's same thing. You've got to learn to use stuff. You know,
muscle memory is far more important than anything else.
Yeah.
Particularly with wildlife photography. And the reason I went for wildlife photography over landscapes, I mean, I love landscapes as well, but I concentrated on this because, again, it's that narrow focus, it's that narrow ability to really nail the shot.
Yep.
And it's so difficult. Wildlife is one of the most difficult genres, I would suggest.
They're unpredictable as one thing, unless you're
erratic,
baiting or setting a shot up where you know there's birds nesting and you know they're feeding in a certain area or anything, but you do get the people baiting stuff, don't you?
Oh yeah.
Which is difficult because one, you're basically teaching a wild animal to come and feed, which then puts them in danger to a degree, especially if they're a certain rare type of bird, which obviously you've got to be very careful of. You know, but you just, if you love what you do, you love what you do, and I think that's the most important thing. One, it makes you happy.
And the money angle, well, I mean, you know, if you do smoke, I mean, how long does it take to get £6,000?
Friend of mine, Richard. So Richard, a fantastic magician, friend of mine. He's given up smoking because he worked out that it cost him £4,800 a year or something, and vaping or whatever he was doing. And he's changed his life. He's utilised that money to do something else with. Typical, isn't it? He's getting a bit
frisky.
I know. So
it's relative.
We all waste money on things that we shouldn't do.
You know, I've never smoked.
No, me either.
Never drank.
I don't really. I've not drunk for years, and I drunk a little bit.
So, I mean, I used 5 years ago. I gave up 5 years ago for the photography.
Yeah.
I was drinking the moderate amount, you know, sort of.
It still adds up.
The allowance.
Yeah.
But there's a couple of grey lags over there.
I forget there's a little window down there.
But I mean, and again, those people say, "Oh, I couldn't possibly afford that lens." Well, yeah, maybe.
You can afford anything if you want it, and it's also just you've got to have the drive to want something. You know.
I remember when I was 18. You know, I didn't have the money to buy the latest Nikon gear.
No.
But I worked part time.
Yeah.
You know, I did do.
You don't go out. You make sacrifices that you wouldn't normally do. And someone was on. I was on TikTok yesterday, flicking through the videos as you do, and there's some guy on there saying, you know, someone's gone out and spent $100 grand on a 100 grand on a BMW, and he says, who's got the money just to do that, this, that, and the other? And it was a case of like, well, he's possibly worked hard to get it. I know some people get handed money, and you know that's a different thing, but most people don't. They work for it, and if you want something, you buy it, you know. But you work hard to get that, to be able to be able to afford the finance on it, which is probably what it is. But still, it's still a lot of money, you know. If that's what you want, you go and buy it. Some people, love cars, you know, but you know, it's if you want something enough, you'll work harder. You'll get a second job. You'll spend extra hours. Anyway, sometimes at 3 o'clock in the morning I'll be editing, you know, to make YouTube videos. It doesn't earn me millions, but it's getting there slowly. By the time I'm like 80 or something, I might be earning a little bit more. But it's do something you love and try and make money from it is the best thing in the world. You know, obviously me doing professional photography jobs. At the moment, I'm just picking and choosing what I want to do, but you know, there's so many different things out there that you can do. But the YouTube thing is brilliant because it's very sociable. Hopefully it's interesting to you guys to watch. Hopefully it gives you inspiration. That's one of the reasons I did the channel. One was for memories, because you photograph all these things every week, and most of them just sit on a hard drive doing nothing, and I thought, you know, that's just silly, so let me just put some videos together. And I thought, I've been there, I can watch it, or my family can watch it, or whatever. Friends can watch it, you know, if we go out for a day out, and it's just a good memory, because otherwise the photos sit on a little bit on Facebook, disappear, and also your videos, you know, as well, and all that sort of stuff. So I thought, on YouTube, if people want to watch it, they'll watch it. And I never thought I'd even get 100 subscribers, let alone, well, close to 8,000 now, which is slowly getting there. But
I mean, YouTube was originally designed basically for
showing kittens,
family photos.
Yeah.
It was not for commercial websites at all. And likewise, I do it for you know, you can, all the places you've visited. Yes, it's nice to share it with other people.
Absolutely, and you know,
but also, you know, you do actually then have that record, you know, when you go back, rather than at the pearly gates. You have to remember it all in 5 seconds, apparently, or something like that. Some out of body experience or something. But
yeah, at the same time, you know, to try and inspire other people to learn to do photography, to find something that you really enjoy. And photography itself, for your mental health, for example, is fantastic. It really makes you relax, gives you something to focus on, literally. I know it's a bit of a cliche with autofocus and focusing your lens, but it makes you focus. And where I've actually given a few people who had depression and things like that some lessons and things over time, it transferred their depression into being happy. And gave them a focus to want to do more, and it really does. It's addictive, you know. Is it an addiction or is it obsessive? One of the three, I don't know. But
it gets you out of the house.
Gets you out of the house, a bit of fresh air. You know, I'm still doing shorts and a t-shirt. It's not cold. It's just a bit wiggly and not particularly sunny. But I think the most important thing about photography is that you love doing it. You know, and if you've got the money to buy even a second-hand camera and you want to start somewhere. I looked online, I think I did a video, how cheap can you start photography? It's like 60 quid. You could buy an early DSLR with a 50mm lens, and it was about 60 or 70 pounds, I think. Yeah. Well, less than 100 anyway, at least. And there's other options as well, and it just shows you don't need to spend lots of money. You know, if you're at college and you're starting photography as a thing, just go and buy used, don't buy new. Start with the basic stuff, because there's less, there's less tech in it, so you don't get distracted by all the new stuff and this, that and the other, and it makes you work and makes you learn, because when you've got these things, you need to have the knowledge really to get the best out of them. And if you don't have the knowledge, you've got to build it up. So if you can do it cheap, it's a good way to start. And then also you guarantee that, have you just wasted a load of money, that you're not going to pick the camera up, because obviously photography isn't for everyone, you know. And some people think, oh, it's a good idea, and then they waste a load of money and then eventually sell it. So you know, it's a big loss. But if you can start off cheap, and you know, you're never going to lose. If you spend 100 quid on a camera, you're going to get your money back. You know, even if you sold it in and traded it in later on, you know, you're not going to lose much. So yeah, it's definitely worthwhile. I'm just going to show you the view that we've been looking at, and then I'll let Mark chat away, because this camera's been running for 42 minutes. It's going to be a very long 1, 2 and 3 part video, I think. But that's the view we've got today. As you can see, it's not brilliant on the light, but we're still getting some good shots. So yeah, anyway, if you've enjoyed this video, go and see Mark's channel. It's Camilla and I. Why is it called Camilla and I? That's what I've been looking at, and I always wondered. I'm like, I need to ask him at some point.
Jonathan asked as well. Well, basically, it's Camilla, Cam, C-A-M, first 3 letters of the thing, but also it's the other woman, the mistress.
Right.
So Camilla, of course,
Yeah.
Queen Camilla now, but she was famously the
Right. Got
the mistress of our current King Charles.
Yeah. Fair enough. There we go. That's the reason why. I always wondered.
Time spent in the field, or just a couple of pigeons, £1 for every pigeon.
Yeah. No, fantastic. Yeah. Anyway, I'll put links in description anyway. Go and give them a follow.
Let's do it, yeah.
No worries. It's been lovely to meet you. We're going to carry on. So there'll be his side of the view as well.
I don't know what we're going to talk about now.
Well,
we covered every subject.
no, I'm sure we can get some more.
Stuart James channel. So.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't matter. He's chatting in it.
Yeah.
But
we'll waffle on some more.
Oh, we will.
So if you
Part 75 is over on Mark's channel.
Because as photographers, we do have quite a lot to talk about.
Well, we could talk a lot of crap, that's for sure. It makes a lot of people sleepy.
Edit it out.
Yeah, no, there'll be a lot of cuts. Oh, chirp. Anyway, see you later, guys.